All right, welcome everybody to this week's Take Charge of Your Life, where we talk about how to live healthy, live empowered, and live free, which is our version of mind, body, and soul wellness. I'm Tish Taylor from Growth Centric Living, and I'm a mindset trainer, personal transformation guide, really invested here in trying to give you guys some value so that you can level up your life and take charge. And this is my co-host, Roberta.
Hi, I'm Roberta, the owner of Wake Up to Life Wellness, and I too am a personal transformation specialist. Tish and I are certified trainers for the Elite Mentorship Forum with Peter Sage, and my passion, more just always and more every day, is to see people totally transform in their mind, body, and soul, so they can live a life that's free and abundant the way it was meant to be.
Yeah, as Roberta mentioned, we're both trained under Peter Sage. If you aren't familiar with him, he is a world-renowned behavior expert and has been exponential in our personal growth. So our goals here for our discussions is to show you guys a clip from his teachings and then discuss and try to elaborate on them a little bit more in each of our areas, how living healthy, living empowered, and living free.
Awesome. So I'll share that reel. Today, the reel is titled The 4 Levels of Consciousness. Okay, there it is.
Albert Einstein was one of the smartest men who ever lived, and he made a profound statement. He said, you can't solve your problems at the same level of thinking or consciousness that created them. But how do you navigate that? How do you make sense of that? How do you solve your problems through the wisdom of Albert Einstein? Well, super easy. 4 levels. The first level is victimhood. If you're in victimhood, you're never going to solve your victim problems from that level of consciousness. So victims either stay there and suffer or move to the next level, which is achiever. That's where we see people hustling, trying to be able to create their life. But a lot of problems are created in hustle. So how do you get through that? Well, you can't solve hustle by doing more hustle. So you move to a flow state. Getting into a flow state solves problems at hustle. What's the next level? Next level is more where you are spiritually mature. You come from a place of wanting to serve others than rather serving yourself. Which level do you see you at? And how many problems are you solving from the place you used to be?
So first off, let's talk about what is consciousness, which Peter introduces 4 levels there. We would define consciousness initially as a mental awareness that allows us to perceive the world and how we interact with the world around us. So that really kind of flows into our thoughts, which is our first sort of piece that we're going to talk about today. We want you to think of these levels of consciousness as levels for physical evolution, kind of like growing up. So you're going to level each one you level up, you can't go backwards. It's like adult can't turn back into a child. So they're kind of like that. The 4 stages, is to reiterate what he said there. First one is victimhood. Says you're solving very little problems here in victimhood. This is where you feel like everything is happening to you, that you're helpless in the outside world, just kind of coming at you on a regular basis. The next level after that is you start to get a little bit more power, you start to level up, and you move into achiever mode, where I need to like hustle, I need to make this world happen for me. It's me who's going to do things for me, so the world is going to be shaped by me.
Yes, the 3rd level of consciousness is what Peter talked about, called flow state. And he also refers to it as through me, which life is just happening through me. It's not a battle. It's not a struggle. It's not a constant recreating the same patterns that keep us frustrated and keep us disempowered. But it's actually aligning with our highest, or a supernatural part of us, or the non-physical, so that we can connect with something greater than ourselves that's going to help us through this process of life. But there's a very strategic way of doing that, that it doesn't feel like out of our reach or something kind of not real. And the 4th level would be the spiritually mature. I think of that as where we're more focused on helping others and doing what's for the greater good. So when we think of those in those simple terms, it just helps us to have a framework to know how to move forward in life. Otherwise, we'll, just keep recreating the same patterns over and over if we never question where we're at. And so the first area we talk about is live empowered. And we talk about thoughts a lot in that category, as we have been in our previous discussions, how thoughts is what we focus on, creates the world around us. So whatever we're envisioning and thinking about all the time and focusing on, that's what we're getting more of. And so changing these thought patterns, like I said, and questioning them is what's going to help us transform into different levels of consciousness. And so for myself, one major area that was so pervasive in my life was the mindset of being depressed. And even though there's other components besides just the mental component or the thought component, that was a huge part. I felt depressed most of my life. And so it was such an ingrained pattern and belief system that I am just depressed, most of the time. And it was so easy to fall into that state. That was my language. I just fall into it, kind of like I was powerless. So when I think of the first level of consciousness, which is victimhood, I felt very much like I didn't know how to change it. I felt very helpless. And so it was something that, until I, started to grow and get more influence from other people and to find a new path, it was just like, that's just what it was. And even the medical system said, you're clinically depressed and you'll just be this way the rest of your life. And so victimhood is very disempowering, very helpless. And it felt very, very stuck. I used to say it felt like I was in quicksand.
It touches my heart when you talk about that, and using the word victim when we know that it's you don't have to necessarily stay there, and kind of being able through both of our experiences to have been in a place like that where you're just feeling so helpless. It just, I felt that as you were sharing there, Roberta. The thought patterns of, there's nothing I can do. My examples are a little bit more in as far as relationships, where, again, I feel like people's reactions were about me, to me. It was all very personal. And again, feeling like there's nothing I could do about it. This is just how they think or how they react, or even, that's my fault, that it's just such a sad level to be at, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think so many people are, feel frustrated and almost feel like disappointed in themselves or feel like a failure, because that victimhood can be such a powerful force if that's been in our programming for so long. And it's not necessarily our fault. It's not like someone's just choosing to be a victim. It's that there's literally patterns running that just keep us anchored in that energy and in that mindset. And so with personal transformation and growth, we get the privilege of, breaking out of those mindsets. And so like when we talk about level 2 for myself in the dynamic of depression, getting into achiever or by me mode, I spent most of my adult life in that mode, trying to desperately find a solution so I could feel better and live life, because depression took me out of the game so much of the time. Like I was just, Peter refers to it as a quiet life of desperation, where in the inside, I was just frantically trying to keep up with life and my kids and whatever life was calling for, work. But on the outside, I was doing that, but on the inside, I was just like, floundering and saying, wow, how do I do life? And so I was always seeking for more transformational work. And just everyone who knows me knows that I'm pretty tenacious about finding those solutions. And, in some ways, it's actually served me. So none of these states go without some gift in them, none of these levels. So it actually served me to keep going to that next thing until I can find my solution. So I'm pretty adamant about finding solutions and knowing that they're there, but it was also very exhausting. And it's just discouraging after years and decades of looking for solutions and still not quite getting the freedom and the transformation that I knew was possible. So that's where the by me achiever mode kept me kind of sitting.
It's kind of a dual force. You can tell how it is a step up from, victimhood of feeling like everything's happening and feeling like helpless, to I can do this. You know what? I'm going to change this. I'm not going to accept this anymore. So, I've leveled up in taking charge, really, or I feel like I'm taking charge, and I'm going to make things happen. It will happen because I want it to. But then at the same time, like you said, you're just constantly trying to like mold and force the world around you to be what you're looking for. So it's empowering but exhausting, sort of at the same time, being in this achiever level where you're looking for solutions, but also feeling like you have to mold. One of the examples that Peter gave us in some of our training is, when we think about like Lego bricks, you can't change a blue piece to a red piece. So, for me, in terms of like relationships, if I was going to give an example of the thoughts that I had at level 2, it was that, I can pick, or I can set boundaries. I can, make people fit the pictures that I and want for them, that I can mold people into the types of relationships that I want to have and treat me the way I want them to. And you can, I'm sure, infer about how just exhausting that is as you're trying to make everything on the outside. You're still very much concentrating on the outside world in trying to make it fit what you want at level 2.
Yeah, and I think if we're trying so hard to force our outer world to change, is truly impossible. It's an illusion of control. We don't have that power. Only thing we can change is ourselves. So it's kind of, if we want to have that abundant life that we know is, I think deep down we know it's possible, because we have moments where we feel really, okay, and everything's going well. Of course, that's what we'd all like to have more of. And so if we can get into that next level of consciousness, which is level 3, which is the flow state, where for me, that was actually coming into the Elite Mentorship Forum and Peter having this brilliant way of creating frameworks for our mind, our left brain, to be able to understand how this all works so that we can break those patterns. I was able to see a whole new model of the world. So I could basically step out of that repetitive, by me forcing life to try to change, into relaxing into a friendly universe, knowing that I live in a friendly universe, and that I have non-physical help around me all the time. And she showed me how to connect with that. And in that process, I know that I can trust that is working out for me, that the river of life that I'm in is for my highest good, and it's flowing the where it's supposed to be. And a lot of it is just getting into that awareness of that and letting go of that need to control things, and just trust, and letting that river flow the way it's meant to flow. And so for me, that flow state has been, the ultimate, I guess I'd say, the root solution to a lifetime of seeking and searching.
Yeah, two big progressions in our mindset as we move from level 2 into level 3. One is that instead of focusing on the outside world, we're focusing now on the inside, about mindset and trust, letting go of our need for control and to try to mold things, and then also knowing that we're not alone in this level, in that coming to that realization that it doesn't have to be just me, like we're thinking in achiever mode. It's me and our higher power. It's me and our connection to the world, and that trust of our source energy, God, however you choose to relate that supernatural part of us that is also protecting and providing for us, or flowing through us, as we would say, in this state. So you're much more acceptance and trusting, like Roberta said there, when you move to level 3.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and for level 4, when I, talk about depression, even in level 3, that was a point of knowing that I could change that dynamic based on that inner world change, that I wasn't stuck in a mindset of depression, start changing my language, start changing my beliefs, and start changing what I focus on. So knowing what I want was the opposite of depression, and just conditioning my mind to focus on those things, and knowing that I could change that perspective and get out of that mindset of disempowerment. And so when I think of level 4 now, as far as how it applied to my situation with depression, is that serving other people, because I have done this process and gone through this transformational work, I am able to focus on helping other people. I always told people when I was going through my years of recovery that pain is a very selfish condition. Like I was so much in pain, mental and physical pain, because of the post-traumatic stress response in the body, that it was just took everything I could to get through my day. And it was, even though I love helping people and I love giving value, it was like I was very limited, and I wasn't able to show up centered on like a call like this. Like it just couldn't have happened. I just wouldn't have been focused. I wouldn't have had the calmness and the ability to do it. So living in the the fourth level of consciousness, or, practicing that and helping others, what's for the greater good. That's really what I think we're all here for, that deep need to grow and change and then contribute. I mean, that's what makes life purposeful and meaningful. And so it's just a privilege to be more in this state more and more, and to keep evolving into that, taking on more things, knowing that I have gifts to offer, and just being able to share them has been just absolutely the joy of my life, because I really have been seeking this my whole adult life.
Freedom, we might say,
Mhm.
as we move into those higher levels of consciousness. But before we get too much into that, we want to leave you with a tip when we talk about thoughts. If you're struggling, we encourage you to sit down in your situation, kind of start to observe your thoughts in relation to these levels of consciousness. Am I thinking things like, I'm helpless? Like, why is this happening to me? Then, you might be in victimhood. You might be at a level 1 in this circumstance. So then try to, move your way through, take these lessons, and don't worry, we're going to give you a PDF. We'll give you a worksheet that kind of has and our explanations that we provided here for you to use that as you sort of move through, and encourage you to look at least a level 3 and try to make your way to a level 3 of consciousness in your thoughts. In that, how can I look inside and empower myself to know that I'm not alone, to trust in this journey that I'm on, and still call my shots and kind of work for things, but really from an internal perspective point of view versus an external, which level 1 and 2 kind of keep your thoughts and keep you stuck at.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Tish. So the second level that we talk about is living healthy. And when I think of that in relation to this specific dynamic of the levels of consciousness and moving forward in our expansion, our evolution, our growth, I think of how physically, when we are physically ill or mentally ill, where there's so many things working against that tenacity that we need, I guess, to do this work. If we're tired mentally or physically all the time, or we're in pain, it just further confirms our disempowerment. And so it's like, it feels like, well, I could do this, but what if I can't keep up? What if I can't show up? What if I can't get out of bed? So it really, prevents us from making a commitment to something like a personal growth program. I was just I was just miserable enough to keep moving in my journey. And no matter what, I just kept reaching for the next thing. But it is very hard, depending on the level of struggle that people have. And so being able to, work on that physical component. So like the previous discussions we've had, we talked about, eating clean and getting a nutritional profile that feeds your body and fuels it so that it's able to feel better and sleep and relax and do all the things it was meant to do. Because when we're in that balanced, more physical balanced state, we're able to take on the mental work and the transformational work of, maybe uncovering things from the past that need to be processed and worked through. Just that whole mindset change and all these things take energy, so, and commitment. It takes a consistent effort over time to change those patterns. And so being physically fit or healthy in as much as we can is a critical piece in this work. I think it's a lot of why people get taken out of the game if they don't have that physical stamina to endure this process, or to get through it, or to walk through it, to move forward. They just kind of stay at the same level.
Yeah, if you're, tired, you're more likely to be at a level 1, right? Where you're just feeling like life is so hard physically, since it is, your body just doesn't have what it needs to move forward. It is actually hard. It makes sense that you kind of think that way, but it's too difficult to get out of it. We've talked a lot about the mind body connection, and we really need to keep our bodies fit, which and then in turns allows us to be mentally a little bit more fit. Well, not a little bit more, a lot more. So level 1's very tired still. Even for level 2, we need physical energy if we're going to turn into that achiever and that workhorse and battle our way through things. We need energy to do that. You're a fighter in level 2, so we need physical energy to be able to do that. And then really our goal, if to be at level 3, is to be in a complete healthy state, both physically and mentally, to be able to connect into that higher power. To, if we're understanding that there is something outside of ourselves, and that there is more than just what we see in front of us and just what we feel, there is this energy, this power then we need to be able to connect into that in order to achieve a level 3 of consciousness. You can't listen to your intuition if you're depleted. You can't be in a trusting, relaxing, positive anticipation if your physical or mental health meter is low. So our tip then for like within our body, this week's healthy tip is to start a meditation practice. If you haven't heard of it before, this is one of the best ways. And, meditation, I feel like is like a really broad word. It can mean anything from, hooking into YouTube and doing something guided. There are all kinds of time frames. So if it's something that is really awkward to you, you can start off at, doing a 5-minute guided meditation. But if it's something that you're familiar with, or even if, you don't want to listen to somebody else's voice, meditation can also mean just sitting in silence, taking some calm breaths, allowing yourself to slow down, especially if you're in an achiever mode, and calm your nervous system. Allow yourself to shift out of survival mode, like we have talked about being in, a number of times, and giving yourself permission to be still and present is really the tip we want to encourage you to try to develop that trust with the higher power and in yourself that is needed for level 3 to attempt some meditation practices in a calming, sort of silent or guided way. That brings us to our third kind of segment, I guess, of our show in our Live Free, which is where we really talk about the soul. And we've kind of touched on this a lot as we move throughout our stages here in our discussion today. We want to elaborate on consciousness, because if we're getting to those higher levels, we're really talking about connecting to the soul. We're really talking about, the universal field that connects all of us being, we described level 4 as being fully connected in your greater good, the greater contribution to the world, and living further outside of yourself. And that's what raising consciousness really involves, is expanding our awareness and our understanding to enable us to live more fully, authentically, tapping into that intuition and our extended spiritual selves, in being present and connecting to the essence of who we truly are.
Yeah, and I think to bring that into even more practical terms, it was great explanations really of everything. Thank you, Tish, for sharing all that. And thinking of, because if it's not even something that we have to do on our own, but when we have a collaborative transformational work with other people, we support each other to be in these spaces, and so true. If we get quiet, we can hear the downloads or the directions that we're seeking. We can get, like you said, get into our soul and our intuition. It's such a beautiful opportunity to be kind to ourselves, to love ourselves, to keep pace with a natural way of living, not rushing to the next thing always. That's not joyful living, when we're always thinking we're not there yet, and we have to keep seeking more and more and more all the time and feel exhausted and unfulfilled. But really slowing down life, getting quiet, and knowing that when we're in a work of transformation at the level that we've done it, and just in the world peer group that we're in, we have people around us all the time that are checking in, and we're checking in on each other and seeing where we're at in our growth. And it's a continual inspiration to keep leveling up in that realm, and to live that fulfilled life, which really is the passion that keeps us, wanting us to share our work with you, because we know what it's like to be in a very difficult life for decades. And now we know what it's like to be in a, more peaceful, joyful, fulfilled, at ease, life. And for any of you that have any post-traumatic stress, that living at ease is like almost seems impossible. But when we can really calm down and partner with life instead of being constantly at odds with it, it's like you have a whole new world to live with the rest of your life. It's pretty profound.
I couldn't have said it better. So when we talk about this, these living free, we're talking about living in level 3 of, through me. Sorry. And our goal ultimately is to live free, which we want to be at this level 3 level of consciousness more and more throughout our lives, more often than not, as a place where we live versus, a place where we visit. And having that grace for ourselves too, knowing that, we're not seeking perfection. We're just looking to keep growing at whatever level we're at, or, from whatever level we're at, keep moving up, I guess, really, opposed to keeping ourselves down. So our tip, was there anything else that you wanted to add to that, Roberta, before I give the last one? Okay. It's our download, our worksheet that we want to encourage you to write out more situations, as I kind of said in tip 1, in thinking. And we also like to, in moving your thoughts and your patterns through these levels. And we would like to extend a personal invitation for you to book a call with us. If you'd like to do it together, we would love to support you and walk through this exercise with you to give you some more examples and help you kind of work through what level you're at and where you want to go and what that sounds like, to have a mindset at a level 3 of consciousness.
Yeah, it's so exciting to work with someone and know that even in that maybe short 30 minutes that we would spend together, that it can create a definitive shift. Because as we learn something and become aware of it, and then we implement it, it's just like it gives us a different framework again, that now we're awake to that issue, and it no longer just runs in the background without our consent, because now we have a focus on it and we're putting light on it and we're giving it a new choice. And so that, never underestimate those definitive moments, whether they're just a short moment where we get an aha moment, or we're working with someone, it can make a dramatic shift. And so it's just part of that process. And we're grateful to be, in that journey, that we could support you in that way. And then I guess our quote for the day to end our call is, you can't solve your problems from the same level of consciousness that created them, by Albert Einstein. So like Tish said, we need to move up those levels of consciousness if we want to continue to become a better version of ourselves. None of us want to stay like in the physical realm. We don't want to stay like little children. We want to keep maturing and growing and evolving and living our full potential. And we have to raise our levels of consciousness to live out our full purpose, our full maturity, why we're here, what we can contribute, what kind of legacy we want to leave. So it's a really, fun way actually to look at this, and really to know that we can move forward. And, I want to leave a legacy for my kids that is not about depression and being stuck and being helpless, but living to my full potential, letting my gifts be expressed, being healthy and vibrant, and giving them a version of life that they can look forward to and love for the rest of their life.
I couldn't have said it better myself, that our own personal growth and how that reflects out into the other generations is a huge passion of mine. And we underestimate the power of, our own growth and how that can have ripple effects throughout so many other people's lives.
So thank you so much for spending time with us today. We look forward to connecting with you, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, I hope to meet you on an individual basis, and we will see you for our next discussion.